fractional distance in one dimension. So distance is pretty straightforward, but fractional distance is a little trickier. If I say point C is a third of the way from A to B, where is it? It's a third of the way from A to B. Well, that doesn't really answer it more effectively. So the idea is I want to break this into 3 equal pieces. So this distance, this total distance, was a size of 6. Yes? Between 5 and 11 is 6. 11 minus 5 is 6. That's our distance. And what's 1/3 of 6? Well, that's 2. And that's what we see here. This distance being 2. This distance being another 2. And this distance being another 2. So a third of the way from A to B. From A means that we're starting, sorry for my terrible handwriting, starting at A. Starting at A. And then we're going to go 1/3. So here's all 3 thirds. Here's one of those thirds. So I'll go 1/3 of the way here. That is where it belongs. It belongs at 7. Well, let's make this more general. If I want to say that it's a third of the way from A to B, and I don't give you the numbers, I just say from this number, x1, to this number, x2. Those 1s and 2s are not numbers to like do addition or subtraction with. They're just saying this number is a variable, this number is a different variable. Where is it? So, well, we want to say it's some distance is between these two. And that's what we did with the distance formula. That's why we talked about the distance formula first. It's the absolute value of x2 minus x1. So that's our distance. And when we take a third of that distance, this is a third of that distance is what we want to add to x1. So we're going to take x1 and we're going to add a third of this distance to it. Why is this doing that? So there, we start here at x1. We figure out what the entire distance is. That's what's in green. And then we figure out, okay, this is a third of the distance. And then we add that third of a distance to our starting point. So this is the more formal way of writing it. And this is cleaner so you can write it down rather than having to read my handwriting. If we wanted to say, okay, I'm not just talking about a third of the way, I'm just talking about 1/7 of the way. Well, the only difference here is that this 1/3 is not important. What's important is whatever that fraction is. So if we're going halfway, we would do x1 plus 1/2. And if we said 2/6 of the way from 6 to 7, I would say, okay, we start at 6. We go 2/6, and yes, I know 2/6 can be simplified. From 7 is going to be our x2. 6 is going to be our x1. And this is our number. I'll simplify that. 1/3 times 7 minus 6 is 1. So this is 6 plus 1/3, which is 6 1/3. And that makes sense. The midpoint is halfway between those 2 points. And we're going to talk about that being halfway is when this k is 1/2.